What's going on, everybody? So behind me here I got a 2016 Jeep Patriot. It's got a 2.4 liter engine in it. We're going to change the thermostat housing. I'll show you right here. Now this is the first time I've done one. This is the way it looks right here. A few different ports, some piping, attachments. So on this right here, there's a thermostat inside already in this side, but there's also a second thermostat. Looks like it goes in this spot right here. Once I get things apart, other way. You always want your weeper hole to be at the top, so I believe it's gonna go in this side. I think they preset it for me. I might have to adjust it just a little bit. So it's gonna go in here, something like this. There's a couple O-rings that come with the kit. This is a Dorman part. It's 902-319. Okay. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to remove the bottom belly shield. Down underneath here, if you're working on the ground, you might want to take off the tires if you're jacking things up. But just up here, there's usually a couple push pin tabs, one on either side. So you got two on the passenger side, two on the driver's side. So we're going to go ahead, grab a flathead or a plastic clip removal tool, and we'll pop that out. Removal tool. Just something that looks like this. It's like a little foot on an angle. Looks like a little bird foot kind of deal. Alright, so up here in the front, we have 1, 2, 3. They look to be 10 mils. In the back, we got 3 more bolts. Look to be 10 mil. I'm going to go ahead and remove these. Okay. Now I can hold that piece up. Take out this one, last one. We can take our shield down. The reason why I took this off is that way we don't get a bunch of coolant and stuff there in the splash shield. So when we can just wash the engine, we don't have to wash the shield down and all that stuff. Okay, so our thermostat housing is down under here. So what we're going to do is we're going to pull off intake tube here. A couple tabs, they just twist and come up. Remove these 2 bolts right here, and then we're going to disconnect our clamp down here on the intake tube. And then we should be able to take our filter box and move it up out of the way. We're going to remove this here. This here just pops up and off. A few tabs. Sometimes these here get stuck on the engine. So if it comes off of the cover, pull it back off the engine, slide it back into place when you go to put it back on. Okay, so up top right here, we have a tube that goes from the valve cover to the intake box. We're just going to remove that just so it's free. 8 mil for our intake tube. You can use hand tools. I'm going to use some power tools just because I'm on a time crunch. There, that's out of the way. 2 10 mil bolts there. It's not a bad idea to disconnect your battery. Okay, so this intake box here just sits in a couple grommets. There's little pins that go down in, just held in these grommets. So you just lift up. Okay. Take this and we will just gonna move this up off to the side here. Kind of like that. That should give me more than enough room down in there. So majority of the coolant on this one here has already been, it's already drained out. So I don't think we're going to have too much of a mess, but I'm going to go get a catch pan and a tray to catch any coolant that's gonna fall. Okay, so we got electrical connector here. Okay, so squeeze the tab, lift up. There's another connector up top here. I'm going to disconnect that so I don't break it. You squeeze on the middle, push in, and then pull out. 2 hose clamps here, 2 hose clamps here. So I have a tool like this. It's a pair of pliers, and when you squeeze it, it'll squeeze the hose clamp, and it's got a ratcheting mechanism on it where it'll lock itself in place. I'm going to use this. Just slide this clamp back. There's one. The second one up top here. Got to be careful in case these the pliers come undone and snap your fingers, pinch your fingers. And I got a little pocket screwdriver here. Just get down in underneath this pipe there to kind of loosen the seal, get it to let go from the piping. Don't stab the pipe because you got to reuse it. Just get in between the plastic and the hose itself. Okay, got the top one undone. And I have to use the pocket screwdriver there again, get in underneath this pipe to get it loose. It's been on there for a minute or two. So all I'm doing is just working the pocket screwdriver back and forth between the pipe and the thermostat housing. There, now it's loose. Should be able to slide that back. So that the lower pipe in the front's off. Get the back too. There's one. There we go. Twist it off. I'm going to put a green piece of tape on that top one there. But I don't think I'm going to mix it up, but I will just in case. So green is on top. We have 3 bolts. They're going to be, so this is the way it sits. So we're going to have 1, 2, and 3 bolts. Move the unit onto the engine. 10 mil it is. Just going to crack these free by hand. Make sure they're not binding. Oh yeah, not too bad. Ow, funny bone. Careful when you're using your ratchet, just in case you arc out on the battery. Okay, now that that's disconnected, should just wiggle it a little bit, and it should pop out. Okay, so now we got our old one out. There is a thermostat that goes on the block itself, and then there's also another one that's in here. So the one that goes on the block will go in this piece here. We'll just examine the ports. Bit of debris down in there, and then there's also an O-ring right here, right there. What we're going to change, so we'll just give this a little wipe. The other one will clean that, and that's it really. So there is a small O-ring that comes with the kit and a large one. The large one is going to go down on this, and then I believe the small one is going to go on the temp sensor. So we're going to take the temp sensor off of our old one and put it in our new one. Take this O-ring off here. Just gonna take my pocket screwdriver and get down underneath the O-ring itself. And use a pick instead. Pull the old O-ring off and put the new one on. Now I'm gonna take a little bit of brake lube. Not a lot. I'm gonna put it on this O-ring. So when things go back together, it slides back together a little bit easier. Just enough to kind of make it slippery. Put our new O-ring on. There. Now I got a soft sanding, like a soft cookie here for sanding. I'm just gonna take that. I usually dip it in some of the coolant and use it kind of as like a wet sandpaper. I'm just gonna go around the seal a little bit just to clean up any of the dirt. I don't really want to scratch the surface. I just want to clean off any excess stuff. So that one looks pretty clean. Give this other one here a wipe. Take a rag and just wipe the excess dirt and stuff that I moved around. A little crusty there. Probably be okay, but I don't like doing things twice. I'd rather be a little bit safer and clean it up a little bit better than not having it cleaned enough and have to take things back apart. Doesn't have to be perfect, but pretty close. Okay, so right here, you gotta lift this little tab upwards and then go over the ledge. Get it over and then it should wiggle up and out. Right here, this little tab was down underneath this little ledge right here. So you have to lift it up, get it to go over the ledge and twist. And now this should be far enough where I can lift it up and out. There we go. Okay, so that little O-ring would go on this here. Take a pick down underneath. There's a little bit of rubber residue left there. We'll just clean that up a little. And then there's some coolant corrosion and stuff there. Take my little sanding cookie here and just try and clean up some of it. I think majority of the crud's off. There's some staining, but should be good. Take our new O-ring. Slide it down on, just like so. Gonna get our new thermostat housing. And we are going to turn it this way. So this little tab is over on that side. And we're going to twist it, push it down into place, just wiggle it down nice and easy there to get that O-ring to seat into the tube. And then once it falls into its channel, get it in, twist it, lock it into place. Now it's locked in. As you can see right here down in the bottom, that little wing is over the tab right there. So that little wing locks itself into place. So when we go and we put this together, we want this little hole here to be on the top. And there's the rubber gasket with a notch, and the notch is supposed to go in the housing. So as you can see right like that, it's pretty close to the top. And seat that into place there. Now we're good to bolt it back on. Well, you don't want to bump this too hard just because you don't want that thermostat to fall out. Okay, I'm going to draw in the middle bolt first, just so it pulls the whole unit in from the center. Okay, so these bolts here for the thermostat housing are 159 inch-pounds. So the 159 inch-pounds is about 13 foot-pounds, 13 1/4 foot-pounds. You could always do it by hand. I'm going to torque it to 159 inch-pounds. Okay, I'm going to start with the middle one. That's tight enough. Now that everything's all taken apart, I'm going to take the garden hose and just wash this off. Well, would you look at that? Figured out that I got zoom on the camera. Alright, so we're going to get these hoses put back on here. I'm going to use my pliers and get that up, hose clamp up into place there, and hopefully it doesn't. Oh, there we go. Alright, that's all back in place. Gonna hook our sensor back up here, hook our sensor on the top. All the clamps are on, everything's in place. Now we can take our box, filter box, and put it back on. It is in the tabs here. Put our hose back on here on the top of the intake valve, or the valve cover. I don't think there was any other hoses that we disconnected. So I'm going to leave the engine cover and the intake tube off for now, just until we get coolant in it and things working. Make sure I can check for a leak. So I'm going to get some coolant and top her up. I got some multi-purpose coolant, compatible with any color. Okay. Don't believe there's a bleeder valve on this one, so we're going to go ahead and fire it up. No further drips. Make sure the system bleeds and top up the coolant as required. Should be good to go. If you like this video, make sure you hit that like button, hit subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.